In the endless void of space, a routine mission turns into humanity's worst nightmare. A mysterious alien virus infiltrates an isolated space station, transforming its crew into bloodthirsty predators. As chaos erupts and survival becomes the only goal, one question remains: can anyone escape alive? What secrets lie within this extraterrestrial contagion, and will it consume Earth next? Brace yourself for a journey through terror, betrayal, and survival in deep space. Don't miss out on this chilling sci-fi horror story. Subscribe now to uncover the truth behind Alien Virus, Space Station Nightmare Dash. The year was 2247, and humanity had reached farther into the cosmos than ever before. Orbiting a distant moon shrouded in perpetual shadow, the research station Erebus 7 floated silently against the backdrop of stars. It was a marvel of engineering, designed not only to withstand the harsh conditions of space, but also to serve as humanity's outpost for studying anomalies discovered in uncharted regions. On paper, everything seemed ordinary. The crew consisted of 24 scientists, engineers, and support staff, all handpicked for their expertise and resilience. Their mission: analyze samples retrieved from a comet that had passed dangerously close to Earth decades earlier. To most observers, Erebus 7 appeared like any other deep space installation, a labyrinth of metallic corridors illuminated by cold, artificial light. Its walls hummed faintly with the sound of machinery maintaining life support systems, while monitors displayed streams of data collected from experiments underway. Yet beneath this veneer of normalcy lurked something sinister. No one aboard suspected that their work would soon spiral into unimaginable horror. For weeks, the team had been processing fragments of the comet, extracting organic compounds thought to hold clues about the origins of life itself. But what they didn't know was that these materials harbored more than ancient molecules. They carried a dormant alien entity waiting for the perfect host. As the day began, Dr. Elena Voss oversaw the latest round of analyses in Lab Sector C. She moved methodically between stations, her gloved hands adjusting dials and reviewing readouts. Her focus was absolute, driven by both curiosity and ambition. Around her, colleagues performed similar tasks, each absorbed in their own responsibilities. None noticed the subtle change occurring within one of the containment chambers. A faint green glow emanated from inside, growing brighter with each passing minute. The sensors monitoring the sample registered unusual activity, but the alerts were dismissed as minor glitches. After all, such errors weren't uncommon aboard aging facilities like Erebus 7. Little did they realize, however, that this oversight marked the beginning of their descent into chaos. It started small, anomalies too insignificant to raise alarms at first. In the mess hall, technician Ravi Patel complained of feeling unusually fatigued after his shift. He attributed it to stress and skipped dinner, retreating to his quarters early. Meanwhile, engineer Sofia Alvarez reported strange vibrations coming from the ventilation system near Maintenance Bay 4. When she investigated further, she found nothing visibly wrong, chalking it up to equipment wear and tear. These incidents might have gone unnoticed entirely if not for the growing unease spreading among the crew. By the third day, symptoms became harder to ignore. Dr. Voss observed erratic behavior in several team members during morning briefings. Some spoke rapidly, their words tumbling over themselves incoherently. Others sat motionless, staring blankly ahead. Even those who seemed outwardly unaffected exhibited signs of paranoia, jumping at every noise or sudden movement. Rumors circulated quietly through the station, whispers exchanged in hushed tones when no one else was listening. Was it cabin fever brought on by months spent cooped up in tight quarters? Or perhaps exposure to some unknown contaminant leaking from the lab? Then came the incident in Hydroponics Bay 3. One of the botanists, Gregor Mendez, collapsed without warning while tending to crops destined for consumption. His convulsions were violent, his body contorting unnaturally as foam bubbled from his mouth. Medical officer Clara Hayes rushed to stabilize him, but even she couldn't explain the rapid deterioration of his vital signs. By the time he was transferred to the infirmary, his skin had taken on an unnatural pallor, veins beneath it glowing faintly green. Tests revealed nothing conclusive, leaving the medical team baffled and terrified. Despite mounting evidence pointing to a potential outbreak, leadership hesitated to act decisively. Commander James Harlan, tasked with overseeing operations aboard Erebus 7, dismissed initial concerns as exaggerated fears stemming from isolation. "We're fine," he assured the crew during an emergency meeting broadcast throughout the station. "Just stay calm and report anything suspicious immediately." But his reassurances rang hollow, especially when surveillance footage showed Mendez escaping the infirmary later that night. Whatever illness gripped him had transformed him into something else entirely, something far beyond human comprehension. Panic rippled through Erebus 7 like wildfire. Security cameras captured Mendez roaming the dimly lit corridors, his movements jerky and unnatural. At first glance, he resembled a man struggling to maintain control, but closer inspection revealed horrifying details. His eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the sterile white lights overhead, and his flesh seemed to pulse beneath his torn clothing. Worst of all was the low, guttural growl emanating from his throat, a sound neither fully animal nor human. Those brave enough to witness it described it as primal, instinctual, and utterly devoid of reason. Commander Harlan scrambled to respond, ordering lockdown protocols initiated across the station. Blast doors sealed off sections deemed compromised, trapping unsuspecting crew members inside alongside the infected. Communication channels buzzed with frantic updates as teams attempted to locate Mendez before he could cause further harm. But tracking him proved nearly impossible. The virus coursing through his veins heightened his senses, granting him an uncanny ability to evade detection. Shadows became his allies, and silence his weapon. When the inevitable confrontation occurred, it happened swiftly and brutally. A maintenance crew sent to secure Sector B stumbled upon Mendez lurking in a storage bay. Before they could react, he lunged forward with terrifying speed, his elongated fingers clawing at their throats. Two died instantly, their bodies crumpling to the floor as blood pooled around them. The third managed to activate the emergency distress signal before succumbing to his wounds, but by then it was too late. Within minutes, the virus spread exponentially, infecting anyone unlucky enough to come into contact with the victim's bodily fluids. Back in Command Central, Harlan watched helplessly as the situation spiraled out of control. Live feeds displayed scenes of carnage unfolding in real time. Scientists barricading themselves in labs, engineers abandoning critical posts, and security personnel firing blindly into darkness. Chaos reigned supreme, unchecked and unstoppable. And yet, amid the pandemonium, one chilling realization emerged. The virus wasn't just killing its hosts. It was evolving them, reshaping their biology to serve an unknown purpose. This wasn't merely a pathogen. It was a predator, intelligent and adaptive, using its victims as vessels to propagate itself. The once pristine halls of Erebus 7 now bore the scars of its transformation into a hunting ground. Bloodstains marred the floors, smeared by desperate footsteps fleeing unseen horrors. Emergency lighting flickered erratically, casting eerie shadows that danced along the walls like specters. The air grew thick with tension, punctuated only by the occasional distant scream or the metallic clang of something heavy being dragged across the deck plates. Every corner felt ominous, every doorway a potential ambush. For those still clinging to sanity, survival depended on staying hidden, moving quietly, and trusting no one, not even themselves. Dr. Voss, now separated from her colleagues, navigated the labyrinthine corridors with practiced caution. Her mind raced as she pieced together fragments of information gleaned from hastily scribbled notes and fragmented transmissions. Something about the virus's behavior struck her as deliberate, almost calculated. It didn't simply attack indiscriminately. It sought specific individuals, targeting key personnel whose skills or knowledge could aid its proliferation. Scientists, engineers, and technicians fell victim faster than others, their expertise seemingly co-opted by the alien organism. This wasn't random infection, it was infiltration. Her thoughts turned to Commander Harlan, holed up in Command Central with a dwindling contingent of loyalists. Official communications had ceased hours ago, replaced by static-filled broadcasts pleading for reinforcements that would never arrive. Speculation swirled among survivors about whether Harlan remained in charge, or if the man issuing orders was even human anymore. Some whispered of seeing him emerge from the shadows, his silhouette distorted and his voice altered beyond recognition. Others claimed to hear him muttering in languages unfamiliar to anyone aboard the station. Whether fact or fiction, these rumors fueled paranoia, driving wedges between those who might otherwise band together. Meanwhile, pockets of resistance formed organically, though cohesion remained elusive. Small groups huddled in makeshift safe zones, fortifying access points with whatever materials they could scavenge. Supplies dwindled quickly, forcing difficult decisions about rationing food and water. Tempers flared under the strain, exacerbated by sleep deprivation and constant fear. Trust eroded rapidly, replaced by suspicion and self-preservation. Accusations flew freely. Someone left a door unsealed. Another hoarded medical supplies. A third whispered too loudly during patrols. Betrayal loomed large, threatening to unravel what little unity remained. Amid this bleak tableau, hope lingered faintly in the form of encrypted messages intercepted from Earth. Headquarters acknowledged the crisis unfolding aboard Erebus 7, promising evacuation efforts within 72 hours. Yet skepticism abounded. Could external forces reach them in time? Or worse, would they inadvertently unleash the virus upon an unsuspecting planet? For now, the promise of rescue served as a fragile lifeline, keeping despair at bay. But how long could it endure against relentless encroachment? As days bled into nights, the true nature of the alien virus revealed itself in horrifying clarity. Observations pieced together from fragmented reports painted a picture of an organism unlike anything documented in human science. Microscopic analysis conducted prior to the outbreak suggested the presence of crystalline structures embedded within the viral genome, hinting at advanced complexity. However, post-infection studies, wherever possible, revealed far greater sophistication. The virus didn't merely invade cells, it rewrote them entirely, integrating foreign DNA sequences that accelerated mutation rates exponentially. Muscle fibers thickened, neural pathways rewired, and sensory organs adapted to perceive wavelengths invisible to ordinary humans. Victims underwent grotesque metamorphoses, their bodies twisting into biomechanical hybrids capable of feats previously unimaginable. Yet physical changes represented only half the equation. Behavioral shifts accompanied biological transformations, manifesting in ways both predictable and inexplicable. Infected individuals exhibited heightened aggression, driven by an insatiable hunger for organic matter. They stalked prey relentlessly, employing tactics eerily reminiscent of pack hunters despite retaining no semblance of conscious thought. More disturbing still, patterns emerged suggesting coordination among different hosts. Groups worked in tandem, herding targets into kill zones or creating diversions to isolate stragglers. Logic dictated that such behavior required communication. But how? Did the virus establish a hive mind, linking minds across vast distances? Or did it manipulate electromagnetic fields, using the station's infrastructure as conduits for silent commands? For Dr. Voss, understanding the virus became an obsession bordering on madness. Hiding in Lab Sector D, she scavenged abandoned equipment to construct rudimentary testing apparatuses. Each discovery brought fresh dread. Samples extracted from deceased hosts showed traces of nanoscopic filaments extending beyond cellular membranes, forming intricate networks resembling neural circuits. These filaments pulsed rhythmically, synchronized across specimens regardless of proximity. Was this evidence of collective consciousness? If so, what drove it? Purpose? Instinct? Something altogether alien? Her theories gained traction reluctantly, dismissed initially as wild speculation born of desperation. Yet undeniable proof surfaced when surveillance footage captured multiple infected converging on a single location without apparent direction. They moved fluidly, almost choreographed, dismantling bulkheads with surgical precision to access secured areas housing sensitive technology. Clearly, the virus sought more than sustenance, it desired control. Control over resources, over territory, perhaps even over Erebus 7 itself. Whatever intelligence guided it operated on levels incomprehensible to human cognition, rendering traditional countermeasures useless. In moments of quiet reflection, Voss wondered if the virus represented evolution's next step, a leap forward dictated by forces beyond earthly comprehension. Perhaps humanity stood not as apex predator, but as unwitting incubator, destined to birth something greater yet infinitely more terrible. Such musings offered little comfort, serving only to deepen existential dread gripping her soul. Still, knowledge remained humanity's greatest weapon, and she resolved to wield it until her last breath. With time running short and options dwindling, survival demanded ingenuity and ruthlessness. Those fortunate enough to remain uninfected adopted guerrilla tactics, striking quickly and retreating before drawing attention. Concealment became paramount. Reflective surfaces were covered, personal devices silenced, and movements timed to coincide with automated system cycles. Soundproofing makeshift shelters involved layering insulation materials scavenged from storage compartments, reducing noise emissions to near zero levels. Food rations were consumed sparingly, often cold to avoid cooking odors that might attract predators. Water conservation reached critical importance, forcing many to rely on condensation collected from air vents or recycled urine purified through improvised filtration systems. Medical officer Clara Hayes spearheaded efforts to develop rudimentary defenses against infection. Using limited supplies salvaged from overrun infirmaries, she concocted antiseptic solutions infused with experimental compounds intended to neutralize viral agents upon contact. While efficacy varied, these treatments provided fleeting protection during high-risk encounters. Additionally, Hayes pioneered crude diagnostic tools capable of detecting early signs of contamination via saliva swabs or skin scrapings. Though imprecise, they allowed survivors to identify compromised comrades before full transformation occurred, a grim necessity given ethical dilemmas surrounding euthanasia versus mercy killings. Communication strategies evolved parallel to defensive measures. Encrypted channels reserved solely for trusted parties facilitated covert exchanges without alerting infected entities attuned to electromagnetic frequencies. Messages conveyed concise instructions regarding safe routes, resource caches, and imminent threats. Visual signals supplemented verbal communication, utilizing flashlights modulated at specific intervals to denote friend from foe. Code phrases rooted in shared experiences, references to past missions, favorite songs, or inside jokes served dual purposes, verifying identity while bolstering morale amidst despair. Despite best efforts, casualties mounted steadily. Isolation bred mistrust, leading some to abandon alliances forged under duress. Opportunistic scavengers exploited chaos, pilfering provisions meant for communal use or sabotaging fortified positions to eliminate rivals. Acts of betrayal fractured remaining cohesion, pushing humanity perilously close to extinction aboard Erebus. 7. Yet amidst turmoil, sparks of heroism occasionally flared. Selfless acts, shielding wounded allies, sacrificing oneself to lure pursuers away, sharing meager reserves with strangers, reminded beleaguered souls of inherent goodness buried beneath layers of fear and desperation. Ultimately, endurance relied less on physical prowess than mental fortitude. Maintaining focus amidst constant threat required discipline bordering on obsession. Meditation techniques adapted from ancient practices helped regulate breathing, lower heart rates, and sharpen reflexes. Visualization exercises reinforced determination, conjuring images of loved ones awaiting reunion back home. Hope clung precariously to promises of rescue, fueling resolve despite overwhelming odds. For every survivor clinging stubbornly to existence, there existed equal numbers succumbing to despair, surrendering willingly to inevitable demise. Choice defined legacy: fight or fade, resist or relent. Buried deep within Erebus 7's labyrinthine structure lay a secret facility known only to select senior personnel. Designated Research Vault Omega, it housed classified projects deemed too sensitive for general access. Among these initiatives was Project Chimera, an ambitious endeavor exploring synthetic biology and genetic engineering. Funded discreetly by corporate interests eager to monopolize cutting-edge technologies, Chimera aimed to create hybrid organisms combining desirable traits from various species. Success promised revolutionary advancements in medicine, agriculture, and military applications, but failure risked catastrophic consequences. Unbeknownst to most aboard the station, Project Chimera intersected fatefully with current events. Initial studies focused on enhancing human resilience through gene editing, introducing mutations enabling adaptation to extreme environments. Test subjects included cloned embryos exposed incrementally to simulated stressors mimicking conditions encountered during interstellar travel. Results yielded promising breakthroughs, including enhanced cellular regeneration and accelerated healing processes. However, Unforeseen complications arose when experimental strains cross-contaminated samples retrieved from the comet. Rather than merging harmoniously, alien DNA overwhelmed native sequences, triggering cascading failures culminating in uncontrollable replication. Archival logs recovered from Vault Omega illuminated chilling parallels between Project Chimera's outcomes and ongoing viral outbreak. Symptoms described in test subject evaluations mirrored those afflicting infected crew members. Hyperaggression, rapid physiological alterations, and eventual loss of cognitive function. Furthermore, containment breaches recorded during early trials bore striking resemblance to recent incidents aboard Erebus 7. Had remnants of Chimera's experiments somehow survived undetected, lying dormant until reactivated by external stimuli? Alternatively, did the alien virus exploit pre-existing vulnerabilities introduced inadvertently via genetic manipulation? These revelations complicated matters considerably. If connection between projects proved causal rather than coincidental, eradication efforts faced unprecedented challenges. Traditional methods targeting viruses alone likely proved ineffective against hybridized pathogens incorporating engineered elements resistant to conventional treatments. Moreover, containment protocols devised originally for terrestrial applications failed spectacularly in zero-gravity environments, exacerbating spread exponentially. Knowledge gleaned from Vault Omega underscored urgency addressing root causes rather than symptomatic manifestations alone. Dr. Voss recognized implications immediately. Armed with newfound insights, she redirected focus towards synthesizing counteragents incorporating components derived from original test formulas. Hypothesis posited restoring balance disrupted by alien interference might inhibit further mutations, potentially reversing damage already inflicted. Time constraints rendered comprehensive testing impractical. Nonetheless, calculated risks outweighed guaranteed annihilation. Collaborating remotely with surviving specialists scattered throughout station. Voss coordinated synthesis procedures utilizing salvaged equipment repurposed creatively. Each step forward brought renewed determination tempered by sobering awareness stakes involved exceeded mere survival. They encompassed preservation entire species. The alliance between Dr. Voss and Lieutenant Kane quickly became the linchpin of humanity's resistance aboard Erebus 7. Their combined expertise created a synergy that neither could have achieved alone. Voss's scientific acumen provided insights into the virus's mechanisms, while Kane's tactical precision ensured the group's survival against increasingly hostile threats. Together, they devised a plan to not only fortify Sanctuary Alpha, but also to strike back at the heart of the infection. Voss proposed using data recovered from Research Vault Omega to reverse engineer components of Project Chimera. She hypothesized that by isolating specific gene sequences responsible for the virus's aggression and adaptability, they could develop a retrovirus capable of neutralizing its effects. The challenge lay in synthesizing this counteragent without access to advanced laboratory equipment or uncontaminated samples. Every experiment carried immense risk. One misstep could unleash an even deadlier strain of the pathogen. Kane, meanwhile, focused on securing the necessary resources to support Voss's work. He organized raiding parties to scavenge materials from compromised sectors of the station. These missions were perilous, requiring teams to navigate through corridors teeming with infected hosts. Each sortie demanded careful planning, as the enemy's numbers continued to swell. Despite heavy losses, the coalition managed to retrieve critical supplies, including biohazard containment units, chemical reagents, and power cells. As days turned into weeks, the alliance fostered a fragile sense of unity among survivors. Stories of selflessness and courage began to circulate, inspiring hope amidst despair. One particularly harrowing tale involved engineer Sofia Alvarez, who sacrificed herself to detonate a makeshift explosive device, sealing off a major breach point and buying precious time for her comrades. Her bravery became a rallying cry, reminding everyone that humanity's spirit remained unbroken. Yet, cracks within the alliance began to surface. Some members questioned the morality of sacrificing lives for the greater good, while others doubted the feasibility of Voss's ambitious plans. Tensions simmered beneath the surface, threatening to boil over at any moment. The weight of leadership pressed heavily on both Voss and Kane, forcing them to confront difficult decisions about resource allocation, mission priorities, and the ethical boundaries of their actions. Despite these challenges, progress was made. Early iterations of the retrovirus showed promise during controlled tests on isolated tissue cultures. Voss noted subtle changes in cellular behavior, suggesting partial suppression of alien DNA integration. While far from a cure, these findings offered a glimmer of hope, a potential turning point in humanity's struggle against the encroaching nightmare. As the coalition worked tirelessly to combat the alien virus, the pathogen itself demonstrated an unsettling ability to adapt. What had begun as a relatively straightforward contagion rapidly evolved into something far more insidious. Observations revealed that infected individuals no longer exhibited uniform symptoms. Instead, they displayed a terrifying diversity of mutations tailored to specific environmental conditions. In low-gravity zones near the station's outer hull, hosts developed elongated limbs and prehensile appendages, allowing them to scale walls and ceilings with alarming agility. Their movements resembled those of arachnids, making them nearly impossible to evade in narrow passageways. In contrast, those inhabiting densely packed living quarters underwent bulkier transformations, gaining reinforced exoskeletons and enhanced strength designed for close-quarters combat. These hulking monstrosities smashed through barricades effortlessly, rendering traditional defenses obsolete. Even more disturbing was the emergence of specialized roles within the infected population. Certain hosts appeared to serve as scouts, moving stealthily ahead of larger groups to locate prey. Others acted as sentinels, guarding key entry points and alerting nearby allies to intruders' presence. Communication between these entities seemed instantaneous, occurring via subsonic frequencies undetectable by human ears. This hive-like coordination suggested the virus had transcended mere parasitism, functioning instead as a collective intelligence driving its hosts toward shared objectives. Dr. Voss theorized that the pathogen's rapid evolution stemmed from its unique genetic structure. Unlike terrestrial viruses, which relied on random mutations to adapt, this organism actively rewrote its own code based on external stimuli. Environmental factors such as temperature fluctuations, electromagnetic interference, and even psychological stressors triggered cascading changes in its genome, enabling it to exploit new opportunities for survival and propagation. Essentially, the virus learned, growing smarter and more dangerous with each passing hour. This adaptive capability posed a dire threat to the coalition's efforts. Strategies that once proved effective quickly became obsolete as the enemy shifted tactics. Ambushes set up in seemingly secure locations failed when infected hosts bypassed traps entirely. Automated defenses malfunctioned under coordinated assaults, overwhelmed by sheer numbers and brute force. Even attempts to quarantine infected areas faltered as the virus breached supposedly impenetrable barriers, spreading uncontrollably throughout the station. Amidst this escalating crisis, morale plummeted. Survivors watched helplessly as friends and colleagues succumbed to the relentless onslaught, their bodies twisted beyond recognition. Fear not at their resolve, sowing seeds of doubt and paranoia. Could humanity truly prevail against an adversary so cunning, so adaptable? Or were they merely delaying the inevitable? Faced with mounting casualties and dwindling resources, Dr. Voss decided to take a drastic step, deploying an experimental aerosolized version of her retrovirus directly into the station's ventilation system. The idea was fraught with danger. If successful, the treatment could neutralize the infection across large swaths of Erebus, 7, giving the coalition breathing room to regroup and strategize. However, failure would mean releasing a potentially lethal agent into the air supply, condemning everyone aboard to certain death. Lieutenant Kane vehemently opposed the plan, arguing that the risks outweighed the benefits. "We're gambling with lives here," he insisted during a heated council meeting. "What happens if the retrovirus mutates further? Or worse, what if it interacts unpredictably with the alien DNA already present?" His concerns resonated with many, yet Voss remained resolute. Time was running out, and conventional methods had proven ineffective. They needed a decisive action, one bold enough to tip the scales in their favor. To mitigate potential fallout, Voss implemented a phased rollout strategy. The first phase involved targeting less critical sections of the station, where few survivors remained. Sensors monitored atmospheric composition and biological activity, providing real-time feedback on the retrovirus's efficacy. Initial results were mixed. In some areas, infected hosts exhibited signs of destabilization, their mutated forms collapsing into quivering masses before dissolving entirely. Elsewhere, however, the virus appeared resistant, continuing its rampage unabated. Encouraged by partial success, Voss pushed forward with the second phase, expanding deployment to include vital infrastructure hubs. Here, the stakes were higher. Failure would cripple essential systems, plunging the station into chaos. As the aerosol dispersed, tension mounted among the coalition. Every cough, every flicker of light sparked panic. Yet gradually, reports filtered in confirming widespread deactivation of infected entities. Entire sectors fell silent, reclaimed by humanity's tenuous grasp. But victory came at a cost. Unintended side effects manifested in unexpected ways. Non-infected personnel exposed to the retrovirus experienced debilitating symptoms ranging from severe nausea to temporary paralysis. Medical officer Clara Hayes scrambled to administer antidotes, stabilizing affected individuals as best she could. Meanwhile, structural integrity issues arose as decomposing organic matter clogged filtration systems, necessitating emergency maintenance operations. Despite these setbacks, the Gambit succeeded in halting the virus's advance long enough for the coalition to consolidate its position. Sanctuary Alpha became a beacon of hope, its fortified walls standing firm against the tide of horror washing over Erebus. 7. For the first time since the outbreak began, survivors dared to believe that salvation might still be within reach. Just as momentum shifted in favor of the coalition, betrayal struck from within their ranks. Security footage captured technician Ravi Patel, a trusted member of Kane's team, tampering with life support systems in Sector G. When confronted, Patel claimed coercion, insisting he'd been blackmailed by shadowy figures promising safe passage off the station in exchange for sabotage. His confession raised troubling questions about infiltration and hidden agendas lurking beneath the surface. Investigations revealed a splinter faction operating covertly among the survivors. Dubbed the Exiles, this group rejected cooperation with the coalition, advocating instead for individual survival at all costs. Their leader, a former biologist named Dr. Elias Wu, argued that humanity's extinction was inevitable and that resources should be reserved for select individuals deemed worthy of escape. To achieve this end, the Exiles orchestrated deliberate disruptions, exploiting vulnerabilities to weaken the coalition's grip on Erebus. 7. Tensions escalated rapidly as accusations flew. Trust eroded overnight, replaced by suspicion and recrimination. Accusations of treachery spread like wildfire, dividing loyalties and fracturing alliances. Even longtime allies found themselves questioning motives, unsure whom to trust in an environment rife with paranoia. Lieutenant Kane responded decisively, launching a full-scale crackdown on suspected traitors. Raids targeted known exile strongholds, resulting in violent clashes that left both sides bloodied and battered. Casualties mounted as infighting consumed valuable manpower and supplies. Morale plummeted further, with many questioning whether internal strife posed a greater threat than the alien virus itself. Dr. Voss urged restraint, cautioning against rash decisions fueled by anger and fear. "We cannot afford to turn on each other," she implored during a tense assembly. "Our strength lies in unity, not division." Her words fell largely on deaf ears, drowned out by cries for vengeance and demands for accountability. The coalition teetered on the brink of collapse, its fragile foundation crumbling under the weight of betrayal. Amidst the turmoil, Dr. Voss uncovered evidence pointing to a shocking revelation. Commander Harlan had orchestrated much of the chaos deliberately. Hidden logs retrieved from Command Central revealed his involvement in secret experiments conducted alongside Project Chimera, aimed at weaponizing the alien virus for military applications. When containment failed, Harlan chose to conceal the truth rather than risk exposure, prioritizing personal ambition over human lives. Confronted with irrefutable proof, Harlan confessed, his voice devoid of remorse. "You think I wanted this?" he sneered. "I did what I had to do for Earth, for humanity. Sacrifices must be made in the name of progress." His admission shattered whatever remnants of faith lingered among the survivors, exposing the depths of corruption festering within their leadership. The revelation ignited outrage, galvanizing the coalition to unite against a common foe. With renewed determination, they launched a final assault on Command Central, determined to dismantle Harlan's regime and reclaim control of Erebus. 7. The battle raged fiercely, pitting loyalists against rebels in a desperate struggle for dominance. Ultimately, justice prevailed. Harlan perished during the siege, his body consumed by flames as explosions tore through the command center. Though victory came at great cost, it marked a turning point in humanity's fight for survival. Freed from tyranny, the coalition vowed to rebuild, not just the station, but trust and camaraderie shattered by deceit. With Harlan gone, The coalition refocused its efforts on eradicating the remaining infected hosts. Armed with improved versions of Voss's retrovirus and bolstered by restored morale, they initiated Operation Cleansing Dawn, a coordinated campaign to purge Erebus, 7 of the alien menace once and for all. The operation unfolded methodically, sector by sector. Teams advanced cautiously, deploying drones equipped with sensors capable of detecting residual viral activity. Infected entities encountered along the way were neutralized swiftly, their bodies incinerated to prevent reanimation. Progress was slow but steady, inching closer to complete sterilization with each passing day. However, the virus refused to surrender quietly. As the coalition neared the station's core, a massive horde converged upon their position, driven by primal instinct to protect its stronghold. Outnumbered and outgunned, the defenders braced for annihilation. Against overwhelming odds, ingenuity triumphed. Engineers rigged makeshift explosives, creating chain reactions that decimated entire sections of the station. Pilots commandeered abandoned shuttles, using them as battering rams to clear paths through dense clusters of enemies. Acts of heroism abounded, as individuals sacrificed themselves to ensure the mission's success. When the dust settled, Erebus, 7 stood battered but free. The alien virus had been eradicated, at least temporarily. Exhausted yet victorious, the survivors embraced one another, tears mingling with laughter as relief washed over them. Recovery efforts commenced immediately, transforming Erebus, 7 into a symbol of resilience and renewal. Damaged systems were repaired, living quarters rebuilt, and gardens replanted to restore a semblance of normalcy. Survivors worked side by side, sharing stories of loss and redemption as they pieced together fragments of their shattered lives. Dr. Voss emerged as a guiding figure, channeling her experiences into advocacy for stricter ethical oversight of scientific research. Her testimony before interstellar councils led to sweeping reforms, ensuring tragedies like Erebus 7 would never happen again. Lieutenant Kane retired from active duty, dedicating himself to mentoring future generations of leaders committed to preserving peace and integrity. Though scars remained, both physical and emotional, the ordeal forged bonds stronger than steel. Humanity endured, tempered by fire and tempered by hope. Together, they gazed toward distant stars, ready to embrace whatever challenges awaited beyond the horizon. As you've journeyed through this harrowing tale of survival, sacrifice, and redemption aboard Alien Virus, Space Station Nightmare Dash, we invite you to join us on future adventures exploring the mysteries of the cosmos. From thrilling sci-fi epics to spine-chilling horror stories, our channel delivers captivating narratives crafted to ignite your imagination. Don't miss out. Subscribe now and become part of a community celebrating storytelling at its finest.